Welcome back to the Budget Gamer channel, where we bring you critical and in-depth reviews of just about every indie game we can get our hands on, and today we happen to get our hands on some poop. Yep, we're going to be looking at Poopdie for the Nintendo Switch. Poopdie, if you haven't heard of it yet, is an indie game that was co-produced, or at least co-involved, with the famous YouTube streamer Pewdiepie. And that automatically is probably going to be enough to sell some fans on the game. However, if you do think that a gaming experience should be more than poop, butt, fart jokes, or the involvement of a particular YouTube streamer, then you might want to stick around for the rest of the review. Diving straight into the story, it's a little disjointed, but it is there. As a buttworm who has a farting problem, you've been pretty much chided by all of your friends, or would-be friends, and have found yourself laying in a pool of your own tears, greeted by the poop duck. The poop duck, acting a bit as your own personal Jiminy Cricket, tells you you're not just a washed-up, horrid, farting buttworm, but that you should embrace your gaseous powers and take advantage of your born ability to poop, because you, little buttworm, are a hero. And with a situation stripped liberally from The Lord of the Rings, we start off with the gameplay. When you are eventually given control of Poopdie, the little buttworm, you'll be able to move them around the screen with your controller, produce a poopy little minion, and press the RZ button to auto-lock them onto whatever target might be around. And this, besides occasionally pushing a button or using multiple poops to move a block out of the way, is pretty much the entirety of the gameplay. As a dungeon crawler though, you will be crawling your way through poop-themed dungeons, fighting butt and fart-themed characters, and hopefully getting stronger and gaining the ability to produce more and more poopy minions so that you can clear out and take down enemies even faster and push your way to the end of the game. But while we would normally expect a dungeon crawler style game to be based on an experience system, Poopdie is based on an in-game currency system. So tearing up the landscape as you go and defeating certain enemies, and of course unlocking chests, is going to get you gold coins. These gold coins can be spent on pretty much your first level upgrades for any of your abilities, whether that's to strengthen your poops or speed them up or gain them some defense, or even to power up Poopdie himself and increase his magical abilities. Spellcasting in the game is pretty much its key avenue for usable items. You will need certain items such as carrots or thorns to produce soft or hard poops, but the real key to battle is in the spell scrolls. Initially you'll gain health scrolls and then even scrolls to power up your poops temporarily, and occasionally you might find a chest with scrolls to freeze your enemies. And of course, as a game that's based solely around in-game currency, you can purchase any of these from the beginning. The game's second currency though is fart gems, which you really can't find pretty much at all in the game. Beating a boss will give you 3, and beating another boss will give you 3 more, and you may occasionally find 1 sporadically throughout the game in a locked chest. Other than that, you can pay 30 gold coins to play the lottery and have yourself a chance of winning 1 more. And if you can already see the links to this game's in-game currency and a system based off of mobile microtransactions, you're pretty on point. And this fact actually leads us to one of the game's largest critiques that we'll be talking about in a minute. The game's visual style, though, is really tightly based on The Binding of Isaac. It is similar to Bulbware's other game, Bulb Boy, which was actually a pretty solid horror survival style adventure game. And so if you're into poops and farts and pimply butts as your enemies, then this visual style is probably pretty good. But for anybody else, it's probably going to get old after the first, 5 minutes or so of the game. The audio of the game, though, really isn't that bad. Every one of the characters does make their own little annoying gurgles and fart sounds. And of course, Pewdiepie himself is the voice actor for the intro and outro of the game. But the actual musical score has some pretty decently composed classical guitar that does work kind of to reinforce the adventure or the combat. However, there's only a couple of tracks and they do repeat pretty often. Moving into the critiques of the game though, there are actually a lot of points to talk about. But probably the largest of which is the general imbalance of playing through Poopdie itself. As a Switch game that was ported over from a mobile design based around microtransactions, the game starts off pretty darn slow and grindy because it's supposed to encourage you to pay real money for in-game items to speed the process up. And while I am really thankful that the Switch doesn't have in-game microtransactions, what this does for the sake of Poopdie is it actually slows down the progress way too far in the beginning and then just dumps it all on you at the end. And so if you do actually manage to grind out some levels and power up your poopy minions, you can almost literally pirouette through the last half of the game. Nothing's going to be able to stop you. Items are everywhere. Gold is constantly pouring out of everything. And it kind of takes away all the satisfaction of having pushed so hard in the beginning. especially when you realize that Poopdie is only chapter 1 of the game. But who knows, maybe that's your thing. Maybe the challenge is something you enjoy and you'd really like to breeze through the last part of the chapter. But the one remaining critique, besides everything else about the game, is the fact that you don't really have much of a game to play. In Poopdie, you'll pretty much just move around the screen and press that RZ trigger to sick your minions on whatever needs to be destroyed at the time. And in all honesty, most of that's just environmental elements blocking your path. For nearly 60% of the game, you'll probably just be trying to clear out trees, bushes, and mushrooms blocking your path to get into the next room. And as an example from one of the boss fights, nearly every portion of the floor space of the game is just covered with environmental obstructions. So even to fight bosses, you'll just have to be clearing out trees, bushes, and mushrooms. So wrapping up, looking at Poopdie as a full experience, I'd have to say it's honestly a little bit disappointing. The story is a cheap fart joke parody of Lord of the Rings, and we can only expect that it's going to get more involved in the next chapters. But if you're looking for a game that's more than just a novelty, this one probably isn't it. But anyway, that does about wrap up the review of Poopdie, now on the Nintendo Switch. So if you enjoyed the review, or especially if you found it helpful, feel free to throw me a like or a comment to show your support, and don't forget to click that little bell icon when you subscribe to stay updated with the latest content. There are literally thousands of indie games out there, and some pretty unique ones are coming out on a nearly daily basis. So chances are, whether it's an unforgettable gem or an easy hard pass, if it's on the eShop, you're going to find out about it right here. But anyway, this has been The Budget Gamer, so as always, thanks for watching.